Hello students, today we are going to study angular velocity and its relation with linear velocity for a body rotating about an axis passing through the body itself. See, notice this figure drawn here. The shape drawn in yellow line is a body which is rotating with respect to an axis, z axis. The axis is passing through the body, and this z axis is perpendicular to the two mutually perpendicular axes x and y, such that the motion of the body, the rotatory motion of the body, is in a plane, and that plane is the xy plane, and the rotational motion of the body is with respect to an axis, and that axis is the z axis, which is perpendicular to the plane of the rotation of the body. Since the body is rotating about z axis and it has some mass, and it is composed of different massive particles inside it, or you can say there are too many mass particles which are the constituents of this body having mass. In that case, when the body is rotating with respect to z axis, all the mass particles inside the body are also rotating with respect to the z axis. So in this case, we can consider at any instant of time the linear velocity, the angular velocity of a mass particle p, which we have assigned in our given diagram. Let us consider a mass particle of the body shown as the particle p at some position from the rotationary axis and at some distance r, and its position vector from the rotational axis is Cp. The particle is rotating along a circular path in xy plane with respect to the z axis passing through the body. Particle P is describing circular motion, circular path with a center C at z axis. The radius of the path, radius of the circular path of particle P is r at an instant of time. The position of particle is at P with linear velocity v. If the particle reaches to position P dash, in delta t time with an angular displacement delta theta, then the average angular velocity of particle P, omega, equals to delta theta upon delta t. For an instant of time, the instantaneous angular velocity of particle is omega equals to limit delta t tends to 0 delta theta upon delta t, which can be further expressed as d theta by dt, known as the instantaneous angular velocity of that particle, describing a circular path with respect to the vertical z axis. As we know, the path describing a circular path or moving in a circular path, the relation between magnitude of linear velocity and angular velocity is the relation between linear velocity and angular velocity of particle moving in a circle given by v equals to r omega, where v is the linear velocity of the particle, omega is the angular velocity of the particle, and r is the radius of circular path along which the particle is describing circular motion. Since in the figure you can see we are taking just one mass particle of that rotating body. If we consider the different mass particles of the rotating body, all are rotating at same linear speed if they are describing a circle of same radius. But since the position of different particles in body is different from the rotationary axis, in that case their linear velocities will be different, but the angular velocity will be same because all the particles will be displaced angularly by same angle in the same time period, because the body is moving with an angular velocity. So we can consider here a relation between linear velocity of a particle and its angular velocity for each particle. So for each particle of the body rotating about z axis, the relation between linear velocity of the particle, the radius of the circular path that the particle is describing, and its angular velocity is vi equals to omega ri. We have not assigned the subscript I for omega because the angular velocity for all of the particles of that rotating body is same, but the linear velocity depends on the position of that particle from the rotationary axis. It means with respect to which axis the body is rotating, all the particles are rotating, their linear velocities will depend on their radius of the circular path, but the angular velocity will be the same for all of the particles. Here I is the number of particles for which the expression is given. For example, we can say the 10th number of particle of that rotating body, for that V10 equals to omega R10. Similarly, for the 15th number of particle, V15 equals to omega R15. So just we are assigning the linear velocity, angular velocity, and the radius of the circular path of the relevant particle. Here we can also understand that the particles which lie on the same line of the rotationary axis are at zero distance from that rotationary axis. It means the particles lying on the axis of rotation are not rotating, are not describing the circular motion, but the particles which have some distance from the rotationary axis, they are describing a circular path. Since the linear velocity at every point of the circular path has different directions, and also the direction of the position of the particle means the position vector of the particle is changing its direction. In that manner, we can express the relation between linear and angular velocity in terms of an expression with vector quantities. It means as the linear velocity is a vector quantity, the position vector for a particle Ri is a vector quantity. So also here the angular velocity is a vector quantity. Till now we have taken only the magnitudes of these quantities, but now we will express these physical quantities in their vector form. The body is rotating with respect to z axis and its rotational plane is the xy plane. So the direction of the angular velocity will be considered by the right hand screw rule. Right hand screw rule for determining direction of angular velocity. What it is? If the head of a right hand screw rotates as the body rotates with respect to z axis, then direction in which the screw advances represents the direction of angular velocity of body or mass particle of body. As we have seen in the figure given above, the particle is rotating with respect to z axis in anti-clockwise direction. It means if the screw is moved such that its direction of rotation is as shown in the figure, in that case the direction of the angular velocity for that mass particle or for that body will be the positive direction of z axis. Also we can see in the figure that the direction of position vector, the direction of linear velocity and the direction of angular velocity can be given by a proper relation of cross product of two vectors resulting a third vector. How? See this. The vector relation between linear velocity, angular velocity and position vector of rotating mass particle is such that V is equals to omega cross r. When the vector omega and the position vector r are multiplied by cross product of the two vectors, then the resultant vector is in the direction of linear velocity. It means the cross product of two vectors omega and r provides the vector linear velocity. You can see in the given figure the particle is describing a circular path such that the direction of velocity and the position vector of the particle p are perpendicular to each other, and the direction of angular velocity is perpendicular to both the position vector of the particle and the linear velocity of the particle. If we take the three orthogonal axes x, y and z mutually perpendicular, in that case here in this given figure the direction of linear velocity of the particle at this point position is in the direction of negative x-axis, whereas the position vector direction is positive y-axis and the angular velocity direction is positive z-axis. And the expression shows that the product of two vector quantities omega and r provides the direction for linear velocity. So that's all for today. We will continue with the next topic in next turn. Till then, good day.